Hi everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever wonder if getting better at something matters more than just being good right away? This study dives deep into how kids see people who improve versus people who stay the same. Imagine you have two students who are both pretty good at the subject. One student always gets a pretty good grade, like a B or a C. The other student starts off doing okay, maybe a C, but then works super hard and ends up with a B too. How do you feel about these two students? Do you think one is smarter, one is more hardworking? Which one do you like better? That's exactly the kind of question scientists are asking when they study how kids think about achievement. They're not just looking at how well someone does now, but how they got there. This paper explores something really interesting. How do children, as they grow up, start to understand that doing better over time tells a different story than just always being good? They looked at kids from 4 to 10 years old and presented them with stories about two characters who were doing schoolwork. Sometimes one character got better and better, while the other stayed consistently okay, even though both might end up at the same level. Kids' reactions changed as they got older. The researchers wanted to know if kids see improvement as a sign of effort or ability. They figured that as kids get older, they might start to appreciate the effort it takes to improve. They also looked at whether kids preferred someone who was consistently good or someone who showed progress. Think about it this way. We often talk about talent versus hard work. This study is trying to uncover when kids start to differentiate between those two, especially when they see performance change over time. They decided to do this research in China because the culture there really values hard work and self-improvement, which they thought might make kids more attuned to performance changes. So, how did they find this out? They did 3 studies with a bunch of kids, about 256 in total. They presented kids with short stories about characters doing schoolwork. To make it easy for kids to understand, they used things like stickers or rankings on an honor roll to show how well the characters were doing on different tests. In the first 2 studies, they compared a character who improved over time with a character who stayed at the same level, making sure both ended up around the same final performance. In the third study, they tweaked things a bit to see if younger kids would favor the improving character if that character ended up doing better than the steady one, even if they started lower. After hearing the stories, the kids were asked questions about who was smarter, who was more hardworking, and who they liked better or thought would do better in the future. In the first study, kids saw characters with matched final performance but different trajectories. One character improved from 3 stickers to 4, while the other stayed at 4 stickers on both exams. What they found was that younger kids around 4 to 6 years old tended to think the constant performer was smarter. But as kids got older, around 7 and up, they started to see the improving character as more hardworking. And more importantly, older kids started to like the improving character more and thought they'd be more successful in the future. It's like they started to appreciate the effort behind the improvement. The second study was like a do-over with some improvements. They used rankings on an honor roll instead of stickers, and they showed performance over 3 exams instead of 2 to make the change more obvious. The cool part here is they also tested a decreasing condition. They looked at someone getting worse versus someone staying the same. They found that older kids, just like before, saw the improving character as more hardworking and liked them better. But when they saw someone getting worse, older kids started to favor the constant performer, seeing them as smarter and more hardworking. This showed they weren't just liking change for change's sake. They were really paying attention to the direction of the change. The third study focused on the younger kids, the 4 to 6-year-olds, who in the first 2 studies favored the constant performer. The researchers wondered if maybe younger kids just needed a clearer signal of success. So they created a scenario where the improving character not only got better, but ended up outperforming the constant character. And guess what? When this happened, even the younger kids started to favor the improving character more. This suggests it's not that younger kids don't value improvement, but they might need more obvious proof, like the improving student actually ending up on top. So what does all this mean? The big story here is that children's understanding of performance and achievement really develops as they get older. Between ages 4 and 10, they move from thinking consistent good performance is always best to appreciating the effort and journey of improvement. They saw that kids across all ages thought the consistently good student was smarter. This makes sense. It's a straightforward interpretation. But when it came to effort, that's where the change happened. By around age 7, kids started to say the improving person was more hardworking. And with that, their evaluations changed too. Older kids began to favor the improving character. This is huge because it suggests kids are starting to see that improvement isn't just luck. It is about putting in the work. When they looked at the decreasing performance, it was like a mirror image. Older kids saw the constant performer as the smart and hardworking one, and they liked them better. This shows kids are sensitive to not just improvement, but also decline. They're not just looking at the final score, but the whole story of how someone got there. And that study 3 finding is a cracker. When the improving character actually won in the end, even the youngest kids started to favor them. This hints that maybe younger kids do value improvement, but they might need that final success to really signal it. It's like they need to see the effort pay off in a clear way. This research really highlights that children aren't passive observers of achievement. They're actively making judgments based on performance trajectories. As they grow, their ability to track changes, infer effort, and evaluate individuals becomes much more nuanced. They learn that improvement takes effort, and that is something to be admired. The researchers also noted that in China, where this study was done, there is a strong cultural emphasis on effort and continuous learning. This might be why kids there might even value improvement more than adults, who might have a more complex view of success, balancing both innate ability and effort. Now, like all studies, this one has its limits. The researchers point out that they used the forced choice format, meaning kids had to pick between 2 characters. In real life, people don't always have to make such direct comparisons. Also, the scenarios were pretty simplified. Like with exam scores, real-life achievement can be much messier, involving things like luck, temporary setbacks, or just doing your best without a direct comparison. They also mentioned that the constant performer was always in a decent, but not perfect spot like 2nd or 3rd place, leaving room for improvement. What if the constant performer was always in 1st place? That would be a different story. Future research could explore more complex performance changes, like someone who improves then declines, or research done in different cultural backgrounds. But what does this mean for us, day to day, for parents and teachers? It's a reminder that celebrating effort and progress is super important, especially for younger kids. Instead of just focusing on the final ACT, highlighting the journey and the hard work to get there can help children understand the value of their own effort. It also suggests that how we talk about success, whether it is about innate talent or the grit to overcome challenges, can shape how children learn to see themselves and others. This research gives us a great glimpse into the developing minds of children, showing us how they learn to appreciate not just the destination, but the entire journey of achievement. It's a fascinating look at how we learn to value different paths to success. Don't forget to like this video. If you found it interesting, leave a comment with your thoughts on how you view improvement versus constant success. And subscribe to RUBIN'S Mind Lab for more explorations into the amazing world of psychology and science. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.